Beauty for Ashes has been serving the teens of West Philadelphia for over 10 years. They conduct many trips throughout the year, including the Philadelphia Opera.
We used to have arias, and we used to say, okay, here are the scales, and here's Beethoven's Fifth, okay? We used to have that, but just because it's not in the school district, it's up to us to reinstill it and realize it is important. It does make a difference. And no, our students are not too young to catch it. They're not too young to understand it. No, just because it's not normal, it's not typical, or it's not common, does not mean they will not enjoy it. I've taken 5-year-olds, I've taken kindergartners to see the Nutcracker, and they loved it. Oh, my kid's gonna fall asleep. No, that's not necessarily so. I've taken kindergartners to see one of the most favorite opera that the students did see. We were blessed with the opportunity to go to, the partnership with Opera Philadelphia. They said, you know what? We want to offer this to you first, to take your kids, especially since you have young ones, to see L'Enfant and Les Sortilèges.
Yes.
It was awesome. And the young ones is like, oh, he being bad. Those are our second graders. And our kindergartners, oh, he being naughty. And they loved that the animals came out. So, it's true. But that's because the animals came out and they really enjoyed it. So no one can tell me that our inner city kids, or that our school district, our Philly students, cannot understand opera. No matter what language it is, whether it's in Italian or French or German, they can get it. Why? Because of the acting. And because of the emotion, and because of the music behind it. We just have to give them a chance.
Wow. There is a Klingon opera.
There is a
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
Right.
So there's an art form that is so old, and it started in one tiny place on the planet. Opera has really had an incredible, far-reaching influence on the rest of the world, and all of the music. Now, if you look at those opera composers and some of the other classical composers that wrote the big symphonies, they are the influencers of all of this music that we have today. Like, we talk a lot about movie scores. People sometimes ask, oh, well, opera's so old, why is it still important? Why do I need to go? Why should I care about it? Da, 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 da. But, what was I singing this morning? I was singing something.
I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh, yeah, right.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah, what is it, Darth Vader? Yes, everybody knows that, right? That is a concept called a leitmotif. Has anybody heard that before? You've heard of it, yes, probably from doing all the studying here. That's great. A leitmotif is kind of like a theme, a little theme song that's in music. It's a tiny short musical phrase that represents a person, a place, or thing. John Williams uses it all the time in his movie scores. Who was in the other big movie composers, like Hans Zimmer and the guy that did the music for The Lord of the Rings. All those big epic movies, the Harry Potter people, full of leitmotifs. That came directly from Richard Wagner, who composed this massive cycle of operas called the Ring Cycle and introduced the world to the idea of the leitmotif. And here we go. Now people are associating with little clips of music, and it's done incredible things for the rest of the industry across all genres.
Of course, he would not have been influenced with that if it wasn't for Beethoven, who wrote the Fifth Symphony. I think that's the most famous of a short leitmotif. That bum 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 bum, and you hear it throughout the entire movement. Yeah.
So you've all seen operas. I want to know who wants to share what they love about operas.
Like the structure of opera itself is one of the most powerful forces of music out there, as long as you adapt it the right way.
That's such a good answer. I love it. And you're absolutely right. Opera singing, that's what makes us so special. How do we keep our voices in shape?
Well, I mean, first we have to have a really good sleep habits, which is not happening this week because I'm in the middle of a show that's in New York City, so I've been like going back and forth with rehearsals. But yeah, usually a good 8 hours or 9 hours of sleep, and then make sure I don't eat too much stuff that gives me acid reflux. And those are just basic things that everybody should do anyways because it's good vocal health. But then every day I do vocalize, even if it's just a couple exercises here and there, just to keep the chops going. It's just like if you're training for a marathon or training for a sport of some kind, every day you want to be doing something to increase you towards that goal.
How do we prepare for a role? It's a long process, right?
First step is you get the right score, because there are several additions to scores, and you have to make sure you're in the same edition as the rest of the cast. And then once I buy the score, I highlight the entire score of my part, and then I tab it so I know like what sections are what. Because when you first get the score, you're like, oh my gosh, I have 400 pages to learn. How am I going to do this?
And it's funny, it happens every time. No matter how many times we get on stage, I can always look at it and go, I'm never going to be able to learn this. There's always like a moment of panic. But then, we go through the process.
Break it down into scenes, and then even between there, I can break it down into smaller scenes. And then I have to go through and do the labor part, which is translating every word. And it's not enough to just have like a poetic translation to know what I'm saying. I need a word-for-word translation. So writing it in the syntax of Italian, which is not the same as English, how they would move words around. Or like in German, if they have two verbs in a sentence, the first verb is at the beginning and the second verb is actually at the end of the sentence. It's really weird. Makes sense to them.
But this goes back to your point. The actors that can do that work, that do that amount of detail and translate everything that they're saying, everything that all the other characters are saying, that's what makes it easy to understand because they know the words and everybody else's words. So that's a really important part of the process. It's the most tedious, it takes the most time. It's crucial to give you all the best experience. It's kind of a funny story how certain voices are meant to do a certain thing that you wouldn't necessarily expect. I've always sung. I've sung my whole life. I sung in children's choir when I was in church and little, and I sung in all the musicals in junior high and in high school. But I started working with a voice teacher when I was a freshman, and in my head, I was going to be an MTV star, and I was going to be super famous singing R&B and pop hits. And she heard me and went, no, I don't think you're going to do that. I think you should start learning about this. And she introduced me to classical singing, and that was it. I fell in love with it. My voice fell in love with it, and went to college, got a master's, and here we are.
What's the audition process like?
So typically, opera companies will kind of advertise when they're doing an audition for the season, but it also depends on the size of the company.
That I can go there too. No, this is not too much. No, I am not stuck just being R&B. Now, if I want to possibly pursue this, it's a possibility because I see it in front of me. I actually not only see somebody who's my auntie or who could be my mom, I see somebody that's my age that can be my classmate. Oh, they're doing it now? Wow. So it is possible for me to do it too. It could broaden my horizons. So so that's why I think it's such an important thing that our children see their representation of them out there.
100%, because that's it.
My name is Jaquan Williams. I'm 20. I've been in beauty fashions for 7 years. This organization has impacted me by getting me out the house more, made me more proactive, going to museums I went to as a kid, meeting new people and friends, and networking, and just learning stuff about other people's experience and myself. And it's really helped me to like really become a better person and just be a better person in the community in general. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Deanna. I'm 10 years old. I've been in this organization ever since I was born, and how it changed me is I learned how to be myself and how to change the world to be a better place.